Hey guys, Sean Terry here, flip2freedom.com. Hope you're doing well. All right, so I had a question from one of our Deals Syndicate members. She has 3 properties under contract. Her name's Becky, and she has having problems selling those properties. So what would I do if we have properties under contract and we can't sell them? So that's what I want to talk about in the video. This video, the system that we use to sell properties nationally, all across the entire country. You got properties under contract. What do you do if you can't sell them? So first off, let me give you a premise of what buyers are looking for, right? So I did a survey of my list in Phoenix. It's about 48,000 or so buyers, realtors, cash flow buyers, you know, all sorts, the whole list of our buyers list. So I sent out a survey and I asked, what was your biggest buying decision? What is your biggest buying decision? So the number one buying decision is equity, number one, the amount of equity in a property. Number 2 is the amount of cash flow. And if they're an agent, number 3, how much commission they're going to earn. So if we know that what motivates a buyer to purchase is equity, cash flow, or from an agent perspective, commission, we have to position or when we're talking to a buyer or an agent, we have to make sure we're selling what they are most interested in, which is equity, cash flow, or commission. So what do you do? All right. So if I have 3 properties under contract, we can't sell them. First off, are we positioning the properties to these buyers / agents? And I'll get into the methods for selling the properties here in a second. But are we positioning the property, number 1, where we're selling equity or we're selling cash flow, or if we're talking to agents, we're selling commission? So that's a big mistake. So you might have a property and they might be great deals, but the problem is that you're not positioning or selling the property correctly to the buyer that you're speaking to, or the agent, right? So first off, number 1 is look at your marketing and find out is how you're positioning the property. And that's your first thing you want to do before you start lowering any pricing or do anything like that. So that's number 1, right? So you got a property, and maybe you put it out there and you put great fix and flip, you know, and 3-bed, 2-bath in so-and-so town, right? Right. But, you know, did you mention equity? Did you mention potential cash flow? Did you mention a commission to the agent? You got to know who you're talking to, who's your audience, and then you can position that deal correctly. That's important. That's the first thing I do when I talk to my team. I said, how are you marketing it? And they go, well, I'm marketing it on cash flow. You know, and it could be marketed on equity and commission, right? So we got to talk about that. So that's number 1. Positioning is number 1. The second thing we want to look at is what are we doing to get eyeballs on the property, right? You know, I don't even talk about lowering the price or doing something different if our positioning is correct, but we haven't done all the methods to get people to look at the property and to be able to get eyeballs on the property, then I'm not going to lower the price until we get all that done. So the next step would be, what have we done to get eyeballs on the property? So our method to get people to look at a property, assuming it's a good deal, right, and we positioned it correctly, is that we have, number 1 is through agents. So we're going to pull the agent list from REI Automator, and it's called the Flippers. And these are all agents that represent cash buyers that bought a property, fixed up the property, and now have it listed on the MLS. Those are Flippers. And those agents are amazing because they have contacts directly to those buyers. Now, a lot of buyers buy properties buy multiple properties, buy properties in an LLC. So they're difficult to skip trace. Now you can reverse engineer and try to skip trace and yada, yada, yada. But if you can go direct to the agent and be able to get to their buyer, that's great. So how do you position it to that agent? Well, number one, talk about equity to the agent, talk about the commission. Make sure you build in a significant commission into your price that you're presenting to this particular agent. For an example, let's say you have to net $120,000 out of the deal. That's your net number. Well, 3% of 120,000, you're talking what, $3,500 roughly, whatever, right? So now you're looking at that and you're going, okay, well, how can I position it to an agent? Well, why not market it for $125,000 or $128,000 and have an $8,000 commission built in for that agent? And if the numbers still make sense from the investor standpoint and there's equity in the deal, then that agent's going to jump on the opportunity to make, over 3%, 4%, even 5% if you market it for $128,000. So number one is we talk to flippers outside of REI Automator, and REI Automator, allows us to pull those flippers. The second thing is we go to realtor.com and we put find an agent. We put in the county or the city we're looking in, and we'll pull up all the agents and we sort it by the most active. Now what we're going to do is we have a list aggregator that pulls and scrapes all the names and phone numbers of every agent that is in that database in that particular area, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to text these agents, say, hey, we have an off-market property, X amount of equity with an X amount of commission in it. Do you have buyers? That's how we position it to our agents. Now, if we do that, guess what? Now we're appealing to the buyer for equity, and we're appealing to the agent that we're talking to that will motivate them to talk to their buyers. And we're gonna send them out a text asking if they have buyers for this off-market property. That's number two. Number three is we have a database of all the agents across the entire country. So we're gonna, let's say if we're in Georgia, we're gonna pick the county that the property's in, and we're going to pull all the agents out of our database in that specific area, and we're gonna, again, text those agents just what we talked about. We're gonna position it with equity, and we're gonna position with commission talking to these agents. Now, after we've done that, right, then we're going to hit the cash buyers in that particular area. But guess what? We're not going to talk about commission to the cash buyers. We're going to talk about equity and cash flow to the cash buyers, right? And we're going to say, hey, we have an off-market property. We're looking to sell. We're looking for cash buyers. Property has, $60,000 in potential equity in the property, $100,000 in potential equity in the property. If you're interested, let me know, right? And then they're going to respond back. Now, when they respond back with more information or pictures, our motive is to get them on the phone, build a relationship with them, and get them to view the property. Our goal is to get people in the property. Now, if we've done all those four things, right, and now we can't still get people through for whatever reason, then we would do two things. Either A, we JV the property, where we'd find, we posted on different groups on Facebook, and we'd find another wholesaler in that market that had a list we could JV it with, keeping the price the same. And we give the JV person a net number to us. Let's say if it's 120,000. Right? To us, we'd say, hey, we need to get $120,000 on this deal, and our goal would be to do a net number to us. And then if they want to sell it for $150,000, they can sell it for $150,000 after $120,000. They can do whatever they want after the fact. So that would be the JV route. The second route, if we can't sell it doing all that, is we've got to start lowering the price, right? We have to start lowering. If we are not getting a response, we're doing all those, four different things we've just talked about, and we're still not getting activity, then two things we can do. Number one, we can lower the price and remarket it again, right? That's number one. Number two is anybody that we had that had interest in the property, we're going to go back to them, right? And we're going to say, hey, listen, we're going to renegotiate the price with the seller. What price can you commit to on this particular deal and get this sucker closed by next Friday? and we're going to get a commitment out of them. We're going to get a verbal commitment, and then if we get a verbal commitment and it's somewhere, you know, within range, we're going to contract. We're going to send them a contract on it, and get them to commit to this particular deal. Now, if we can get them to commit, let's say we're putting out for $120,000. Right, and then we want to sell the property for $120,000, but we're in it for $100,000. What do? Right, and we market it. We had people kind of look at it. We have no action. We have to lower the price, but we don't want to lower the price until we get someone to commit to buying it at a price that makes sense. So we go back to them and we go to that buyer and we get them to commit. So let's say theoretically they came back and commit and say, listen, the max I can do is 90 grand on that deal. And you're like, oh man, so it's $10,000 off. That's without making a dime on the thing. What do? You lock them in at the 90,000, subject to you renegotiating with the seller. You go back, right? And you go back to the seller and you give them two options. Either A, we can close this thing on the following Friday at $80,000, or B, we can cancel the contract. The choice is yours. What do you want to do? Now, what that's going to do is now they have a bird in the hand, and they're going to close it and they're going to get it done next Friday, or they're going to cancel and they have to start all over again. Now, $80,000. Guess what? You got approved now, $80,000 after doing due diligence, look at the property. This is the max we can do on this deal in the current economic environment and everything that's going on. You know, $80,000 is the max. So now they have a choice. They either cancel, right, or they can sign the basically it's an addendum reducing the purchase price. Now, if they do that, well, guess what? You're in the money, right? So then you can go back to the buyer if you need to and say, hey, listen, I can't do 90, but if you do 95, it's a deal. And maybe they'll come up, maybe they won't, but at least you have the opportunity to go back again at that buyer and push them up to 95,000. Now, if you do that, you get the contract for 95, you push the closing, and then you took a no deal, a deal that you couldn't sell, and you made $15,000 or $10,000, or it canceled, and then you don't have to spend any more time on that particular deal. So that's what we do to go through the process to sell an unsellable deal or a deal that's not selling. That's the process we do with every single property. We're sitting in a meeting and they say, hey, I can't sell a property. That's essentially what we do to get properties sold across the country. Now, there's one other thing, and we talk about that in our 100K wholesaler, six-figure syndicate, and we move stuff fairly quickly, but I'll save that for another video. So, hope that helps. I'll talk to you soon. God bless.